Hi all, it's Coach Moon here. I'm your student's Texas history teacher. I just want to reintroduce myself and kind of go through what the rest of the school year is going to look like. To kind of reintroduce myself, I'm born and bred here in Texas. I've got a long family history in Texas, so teaching Texas history is, a dream come true for me. So I really love it. It's something I enjoy doing, and I feel I can share that with your students. And I love all history. I think that people overlook a lot of things, and it's something that I want to translate and help with your students. Been all over the world. I was in the U.S. Army for a while. I lived in Alaska. I'm very blessed. I get to visit Alaska almost every year and get to see different parts of the world. Both me and my wife love to travel. So in the Army, I was a scout. Spent some time in Afghanistan. I was stationed in Alaska. Me and my wife love to travel. We've been to the Amazon. We've been to Antarctica. We've been to all over the world. And it's something we love to do, and it's something I encourage students to do when they are old enough to make those decisions, to get out and experience the world and see what it has to offer. All over the United States. I tend to go to a lot of historic sites, especially. I've been to many Civil War battlefields and gotten to, see those areas where major parts of our country was shaped. So just to go through some of my expectations, one thing I keep saying to students and one thing I keep saying to parents as well is no 7th grade class has ever had to experience this type of learning, and it's something I want everyone to keep in mind. So the rules are going to be similar to as if we were all here in my class in person, but it still will translate to both students that are remote learners and face-to-face. My biggest thing is being respectful. I want students use school-appropriate language. Just be polite. It doesn't, it takes no special talent to be polite. It takes no special talent to be kind to other people. No gum, no candy, hands, feet, all the same rules that they've been told since kindergarten. But for my class specifically, I want them to be a part of the group. I love having conversations with students and talking about history with them and getting their insights and opinions. And so it's important to be respectful of others and to, listen when somebody has a point that they're trying to make, to listen to it and respect that. Being responsible. This is a struggle for all students this year. Is being responsible, knowing if I'm a remote student, okay, I have Mondays and Wednesdays is when we meet for a synchronous lesson on Zoom. So I need to be responsible to know what time I have to be on that Zoom call for the lessons. Okay, and it's tough. I mean, it's tough, and I do understand that. So one of the biggest things I strive for, and I think the students understand and like this, is just communication, being open with communication. If there's a problem, if there's something, just reach out to me. I'm very easy to get to, and I tend to respond to people within a very tight time frame, okay? So if you miss the lesson, if you miss the assignment, you need to reach out to me, and I will get you everything you need to know, okay? Turn in work on time. That's the big issue, I think, across the board, is completing assignments and getting it in on time. And, what I tell my students a lot is, you really have to try to fail this class. And if you show me that you care about your grade, I will work with you to get you to a better grade, to get you to a point where you need to be, okay? But you have to show me that you care and be responsible. Okay, and finally, just be ready to learn. Okay, we covered a broad range of topics in this thing. And it's important that students are prepared, okay? Some of these are from, normal school years. IDs, we didn't do that this year, okay? But for students that are in class, this should be a, common thing. When I'm talking, cell phones away. I generally allow students to listen to music until it becomes a problem, and then that privilege gets taken away. So that goes back to being respectful, is to listen. If a direction's given, just follow it, okay? Biggest thing is to ask questions. I mean, if you're ever curious about what's going on in your student's class, I'm very easy to reach to. I'm easy to talk to. So it doesn't take anything to just send me an email. That's the easiest way of contacting me, is to send me an email, and I will get back to you. I'll send out some information to you guys later, just kind of reiterating my contact information if you need to talk to me about anything. Okay. Finally, I'll go through what we're going to talk about for the rest of the school year, because the way that the school year's lined up, we're starting Civil War and Reconstruction right now, and that's going to carry us through spring break. And then after spring break, we're going to get into the post-Civil War Texas, and that really revolves around the cattle, cotton, and railroad industries and how that shaped Texas into a primarily agricultural state into a more industrialized state, which ties into our next unit, which we'll get into in April, which is the Age of Oil. And we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about that 1900 Galveston hurricane, because that, apart from it being the greatest natural disaster in U.S. history in terms of loss of life, it also shaped Texas in a very significant way, from creating what Houston is today, as well as the way that cities are designed and planned out. And so it's a great topic that I like to spend a lot of time on. Age of Oil, oil industry in Texas was a big deal, so we're going to spend some time talking about that. Okay, after that, we're going to get into the World Wars, Texas's role in the World Wars, what we did to help out with that war effort in both World War I and World War II. We'll talk about the Great Depression, how that impacted Texas, and what it was like living here. And then we're going to move into the Civil Rights Movement. Okay, World War II, it sets a precedent for what happens in the Civil Rights Movement. The U.S. Army was the U.S. military was one of the first institutions to be fully desegregated, and it set off a chain of events that it led into it. Okay, so we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about the Civil Rights Movement in Texas. And then finally, at the end of it all, we're going to talk about modern Texas. What happened with Texas between 1970 and today, and what it's going to look like moving into the future. And so that's going to be the rest of the school year, from pretty much from right now until the last day of school. So once again, I just want to repeat, if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. If you're curious about grades, I think I communicate frequently on Canvas, both through messaging and announcements. Every day I post an announcement with everything that your student needs to do for my class on that day. So if there's ever any confusion, I recommend looking at the daily announcement first to find out what's going on. As for grades, if you're curious about my grading policy, I tend to allow students about a week for full credit. After that, I start to deduct points. Late work can be turned in at any time. I'll get them a grade. If it's turned in, at a significantly late time, it's not going to get full credit, but I'll give them a passing score. Okay. So if there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I look forward to teaching your students for the rest of the school year.